Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with the Road to Glory podcast. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Cecilia. And in today's episode, we are finally here to talk about F3 preseason testing. Finally, we have cars on track. We didn't get to see any of it, but at least we got a live blog this time.
You know, once preseason testing starts happening, we are getting towards the beginning of the season. So it's a very exciting time in F3. It's the first test that we've had this year, so it's like our first jump back into kind of seeing what is going to happen this year. You can't really take testing results too close to heart, but sometimes it can show you who has pace and who might not. But before we jump into what happened, we have to mention that for this test, there are actually some swaps, which are not actually going to be for the full season. But because FINA Series drivers don't really have an off season, they compete in a lot of winter series. They injure themselves. So we had a couple of replacements. We saw Tim Tramnitz back. Whoa!
Yeah.
Didn't expect him. Joining High Tech, replacing Michael Shin because he had a shoulder injury. So hoping that heals before we get to Melbourne.
Yes, very unfortunate for him, obviously, that as a rookie going into the season, not getting the preseason testing and all the learning from that will definitely be a rough start for him coming Australia, where he'll hopefully be ready to race again. But yeah, he was not the only one who set out this test. We also had Ernesto Rivera for Campos also being in pain. Basically, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but apparently that was also some kind of on-track incident he was involved in that left him unable to compete. So instead, we had Patrick Heusenroda. I have no idea how to pronounce this person's name. I'm so sorry for probably butchering that. He's an Australian racing driver, so I've definitely I don't even know how I pronounce that. I don't know where that last name stems from, but Patrick, let's go with that. He finished second in GB3 last year and will also be racing for Campos, but in Euro Cup 3 this year, so definitely makes a lot of sense. When Ernesto wasn't capable of being in the test, they put him in instead.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we perhaps see him in F3 next year after he's done this with Campos. Because, I mean, he's already got time in the car, so that already puts him higher than other drivers might. But the big news that we got was Enzo leaving Prema, going to VAR, so he's in that team. And we got who will be replacing him at Prema in the test and for the full season was Jose Garfias. Okay, could be a very bad pronunciation. If there's any Mexicans that are here that can help me, please. But he previously competed in Euro Formula Open Championship, finishing 4th. So he's coming in with some promise. So I'm very excited to see him do the full season with Prema. Yes, it wasn't who we expected to be there. We didn't know. We thought it was going to be Enzo for ages. But now I'm like getting used to the idea that we're going to have Jose there. So very interested to see what he can do.
Yeah, he also did step in for a couple of rounds last year in F3 for AIX, so he has some experience in the car. Those races didn't go very well for him, so hopefully things will be going better at Prema, but that obviously awaits to be seen. Also, now that we are mentioning Enzo going to VAR, we obviously also have to mention that the driver he is replacing is Jesse Carrasquedo, and again, sorry for the pronunciation, but sadly Jesse won't be in F3 this year. Sad to see him go, but I'm sure he'll continue his racing career elsewhere.
Yes, exactly. But before we jump into the results again, some small things to note was we have 14 returning drivers this season, with the rest of the field made up of rookies. And F3 introduced something new for this test. We had a live blog. Ooh.
Wow, so exciting. Honestly, I swear there is someone who works for F3 that are listening to this podcast. Because
Yeah.
for those who are new here, we always cover testing for F2 and F3, often also for F1 Academy. And we always complain that we always just get the live timing. So
Yeah.
just little dots going around in a circle and sometimes attached to it, and nothing more until we get the report at the end of each day. We never get like any coverage really of what is
Mm.
live going on at the track. So at least now they tried. I feel like
Yeah,
it is a step in the right direction. However,
for
now,
sure.
yeah, reading through the live blog, it very much just comes across as a live version of the report they usually
Yeah.
do. So like in reality, it doesn't add much unless you are actively watching the live
Yeah.
timings and like see your favorite drivers up on track. Then you actually get some context to what is
Yeah.
actually happening.
I definitely think it was a step in the right direction. Like, it's the first time they're doing it. That could be refined if that F3 employee is here listening.
Yeah.
Contact us. We can give you some notes. We can tell you what the people want. So I'm glad they did it, but they could change some things to be a little bit better. We also,
Yes.
I wanted to note that we have Freddie joining Audi's junior program. And he just has the back wing as an Audi, which is something that I predicted, and I felt so big brain because I was like, Audi's not gonna want the full car. And sometimes they like to just go in the back wing. Sometimes, in other occasions, they don't put anything on the car. Like sometimes Mercedes doesn't like to do that.
Yeah, and talking about Mercedes and talking about drivers in F3 being part of F1 academies, we have something we need to talk about, and that is also why I'm wearing my Mercedes merch today. Obviously, as a Mercedes girly, as a Danish fan, I was very upset to see that now this isn't announced yet as of recording, but sadly for me and other Mercedes Noah Stromsted fans, Noah has been removed from Mercedes' official website under their junior drivers, and also it has been removed from Noah's Instagram profile that he is part of the Mercedes team. So like he isn't part of Mercedes anymore. I'm very confused as to why this hasn't been announced anything about it. Also, it's very un-Mercedes-like because he only just joined the academy or like driver development program last year. Like now
Yeah.
they already dropped him. Seems very odd. Like I could see him being picked up by another team, but like just seems very odd timing for them to be parting ways already.
Agreed. And like, why haven't they announced it? If he's off the
Yeah.
website, he's taken it out of his Instagram bio. Why hasn't he announced it? Maybe then, as you said, he could be joining another junior team. But it also just feels strange. Like, if you're taking these things away, we should be getting an announcement soon, surely.
Yeah, I agree. We'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Also, like, I need Noah to be part of some teams. Like, we had the whole trifecta of Triton being like McLaren, Mercedes, Audi.
Yeah.
And now Mercedes was like, you know what, we can't do this. It's too powerful. We have to back out. So will be interesting to see if Noah is driving just with his sponsors or what is happening. Because I'm very confused because a thing we mentioned about Noah last season was that it was kind of odd that he didn't seem to have any big sponsors, but it was just like Mercedes. He didn't really have anything else on his car. So like, how is he even funding this seat at this point? Is there another F1 team in the wings that we don't know about yet? We'll definitely have to wait and see on that.
For sure. We will keep you all up to date if we hear any rumblings in the feeder series world. But for now, that is all we know. And I think we can jump straight into day one of testing, where majority of the morning session, not much happened. The track
No.
was wet and they were going out on wet tires, not on the hard tires, which they've been allocated. I think it was 8 sets for the
Yeah.
entire test, just hard tires. So it was like, you can't really take the results from the morning session really seriously because some drivers tried to come out on hard tires kind of towards the end of the morning session, but there was no point. Like, the track was not ready for them.
No, so definitely kind of a boring start to the test, you could say. Really not much happened other than we had our first red flag in the session with Fernando Barrichello stopping on track again. Even though we have the live blog, I know whoever is doing the live blog also doesn't have like a ton of information from every team, so we like still don't get information on why they stopped, like what the issue is. It doesn't seem like he actively crashed or anything, but he stopped on track, creating the first red flag. That is also something to note, that we actually do get a lot of red flags in this test, which like we are not as used to seeing the last couple of tests. I feel like they have been doing so well, but we get a lot of red flags in this 3 days of testing.
We do. The next red flag was caused by Enzo Deligny. Again, don't know what happened. He did get going again, so it kind of seems like his car stopped and then he could start it again, and brought himself back to the pit lane. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't take these red flags like too seriously. Don't panic.
No.
You see that your favorite driver's had a red flag.
Yeah, it is very likely to happen, and like nothing to worry too much about. So now that we are going into the afternoon session, obviously at least we had drier conditions, so they actually were able to run on the hard tire and actually set in some qualifying laps. But yeah, when looking at the reports and live blogs from the test, it's obviously just like, then this person went fastest and this person went fastest. So like not a lot to take away from it. Other than we also had another red flag again caused by Mattia Kolnagi this time. But this time it was actually, he was stuck in the gravel. So actual driver mistake most likely. And that also ruined his teammate's fast lap attempt to get happening right behind him. He was like going purple right behind him. And then Mattia was like, no, we are stopping the session. You won't be able to show your true power, Tuka.
Exactly. Tuka, you need to keep that. So people think you're not going to do stuff. And then when we come to Melbourne, wow, Tuka on the podium.
Yeah, you heard it here first. If that happens, actually, we need to write that down. It'd be so funny. But yeah, obviously we got green flag again. Drivers were out pushing again. We had another red flag, this time for Taito Kato, stopped on track. Yeah, honestly, a lot of this session, I just feel like was a lot of stop-start with like red flags, green flags, people driving in between, nothing spectacular happening before right at the end of the session.
Yeah, and this does mess up the team's runs because they plan what they're going to do. And then because the morning session, they couldn't do a lot of runs because it was wet, and the afternoon session was filled with the red flags. So I feel like the next 2 days, teams kind of had to catch up on their programs that they had done because they couldn't get the running in that they wanted to on the first day.
No, exactly. And this is also why we can't always use the results as like being completely clear, because you never know who could have been putting in a fastest lap but then was caught out by a red flag. So, but nonetheless, I will say the way that the session ends is very saying for how we expect this season to evolve. And that is obviously in the final 15 minutes, teams like Campos, Dams, and Triton. Here, note Campos and Triton, because like that is where the main battle will most likely be this year. But we'll get more on that when we like wrap up our thoughts about the test. But they went out on new tires, and of course we had FREDDIE SLATER going fastest by 3/10.
Which is something that I feel like we're going to see this season. We're going to see, as a kind of little prediction, we're probably going to see Ugo and Freddie at the front battling Trident and Campos, like kind of similar what we saw last year. I see the vision, and they kind of were on top of the test overall, but especially the first day, the two of them, they left their runs right at the end of the day, but they got them in to show, look, we are here and we are here to win.
Yes, definitely very interesting to see. In general, I have a feeling that now, obviously, we're not doing predictions. That episode will also come soon, so stay tuned for
Yes.
that. But there's so many talented drivers at both Campus and Triton, and as we know, they are seeming to be like the best performing teams with this F3 car. So like it will be so interesting to see how they stack up against each other. For example, also looking at Trident, we had Freddie obviously going fastest, but on the other days we'll get to that. We also had Noah Stromstedt being super fast. So like it will be very much like a mix of like who has the pure pace and maybe who has more of the consistency of being a second year driver that we are seeing with Noah, and we're also seeing with Ugo going into the second season, versus the Freddie Slater who has like pure raw talent but is in his first season. Will definitely be a storyline that is super interesting to see fold out this season.
Absolutely. I'm so ready. Like, this test has made me so ready for the season to start, because I'm starting to see stuff happen and I'm like, I want the actual results. Like, I want to see what actually happens.
Agreed. I honestly cannot wait for Australia. I am already afraid that I have to get up super early in the morning. Like, I haven't even looked at the times yet. I don't know if they're out. But being in Europe, watching F3 and F2 in Australian time is in European time will be very bad.
It's always awful, but it's always worth it. Except last year when the race got cancelled, but shush.
No. Yeah, we're not thinking about that. We cannot have as much rain in Australia again as we did last year. Like, that is not happening. Having a dry track this year, manifesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, now looking at day one, the results, just like go through them, not all of them, obviously, but like the main takeaways. I feel like now we have mentioned Freddie and Ugo. They finished first and third. We still have to mention who was also a rookie driver that actually finished as second fastest of the day, being Kanato Lee for ART. Super exciting to see ART being up there again.
Yeah, their rookie drivers honestly had a great test overall, which was not surprising, but also just good to see, because sometimes when rookie drivers come in, they can tend to be towards the end of the timing sheets, but they were really up there.
Yeah, definitely. And also looking further down on the timetable, we obviously have to mention who finished in P4 and P5, because that was Prema with Louis Sharp and James Watson. And now we need a F3 Prema comeback. I'm not convinced from the results of the test that we're necessarily getting it, but I feel like we have the potential. As we saw Prema, if you look at the statistics, like they are definitely trying to figure out what went wrong last year. Hopefully they'll get better. And also, as we go on to day two, we also saw them putting in a lot of laps. So definitely trying to understand the car better. So it is good first signs, I would say.
Exactly. And I read, I don't remember who said it, but I read somewhere in one of the reports that this car is totally different. They don't carry any of the setup changes, anything from the past season. So like, Prema, can we start on a clean slate? Can we actually understand this car and just dominate? Come back to me, Prema.
Yes, because obviously it isn't the ideal start for Prema, already losing one of their star drivers, having to put in another driver who also, it was kind of clear that Jose maybe wasn't as prepared going into the test. He definitely wasn't quite able to keep up with Louis and James, who are obviously second-year drivers in F3.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see the team dynamic between the teammates going into the season.
Yes, exactly. I think we can probably jump into day two, unless you had anything else notable from day one you wanted to mention.
I have a weird statistic I wanted to mention.
Share.
Yes, because I'm sure no one has noticed this other than me, because it's a very weird thing. But looking at day one classifications, I will say, if you look at the Triton drivers, Freddie Slater, Noah Stromstedt, and Mattia Di Pello, if you look at the amount of laps they each did, they all did separately 33 laps. Like,
wow,
33 laps, like all three of them. Like, how did they end up on that exact number? Like, are we doing some kind of ritual at Trident? Or like, what is going on with that specific amount of laps? Like, that is just an odd fact I want to point out.
Yeah, they had a very specific run plan that they were sticking to. Like,
Yeah.
they were like, "Each of you will do 33 laps. We're gonna be
Yeah.
completely even," because we know all 3 Trident
Mm.
drivers are coming in with hype behind them with the championships. Like, "We're not
Yeah.
favoring anyone. You're all getting the same amount of laps."
Yeah. I just feel like that was super odd
Yeah.
to see all of them doing 33 laps. Some ritual going on, 3 drivers, Trident, 33 laps. I'm putting it out there. But yeah, we can move on to day 2.
Yes, day 2, we finally had kind of the normal testing day, which we usually expect, which is qualifying runs in the morning where they use the new tires, and then in the afternoon, long race runs. I will say there was quite a bit of wind in the morning, which was catching a couple drivers out, but it was a bit more of our usual schedule.
Yes, it was. Also, now that the teams didn't get to drive as much in day 1 because of the weather, using the wet tires, they obviously also had extra hard tires now that they could just use slightly more than a normal run plan maybe would be. So it was definitely exciting to see them go out for some quali laps at the start of the day. Also, another thing, I know we have jumped on to day 2, but I keep remembering things I wanted to say about day 1. So chaotic podcast episode. What is new here? But just for a short moment, going back to day 1, I did want to mention that we also saw the regular some drivers having all their times deleted because they didn't like follow the rules. Essentially, we had Tuka Tapanen for MP getting all his times deleted in the afternoon session for his car being underweight, and also Jose Garcias getting all his
Mm.
times deleted for his car being non-compliant with the bodywork measurements. So our Prema, like looking into some different things, testing out things. Hopefully they will do it in a legal way next time. But
Yeah.
like, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, important to note because we do get these things in testing where teams are trying different things or mistakes happen and we do get these results. Luckily, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, he's still got the
No.
running. He just got his times deleted. So he goes further down in the standings. But the standings mean nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's nothing big like we saw last year with F2 where there was a bunch of drivers who like got a grid drop going into Australia. Like nothing like that has
Yeah.
happened yet. So
Yes.
all is good. Going into day 2 again. As you mentioned, we obviously had the Crowley simulations going on in the morning session. Had a lot of different drivers
Mm.
competing for the top spot. Like we can again say like a lot of different drivers were like, then this person went fastest, this person went fastest. I will say the only one that's stuck out to me was obviously what we also see being the end results of, again, Freddie Slater, and this time was Still his teammate, battling it out for the top spot. Again, Freddie was still almost 3 tenths clear, but it was still nice to see Noah being up there after being 6th fastest on day 1. So definitely seeing the improvement. We had Trident with those 2 drivers battling it out. And that is a thing in general. I think I have mentioned it in the past in the podcast, but like looking at the driver lineup at Trident, again, this is not a predictions yet, but like we'll get more into it in predictions. But I definitely do foresee Freddie being the person who, of the 2, of like him and Noah, being the fastest driver on like pure pace. But it will definitely be interesting to see, like, obviously it's not really qualifying other than pole position that gives the points, like the big points are in the races. So it will be super interesting to see if Noah can just be like, as like here in day 2 in testing, just be right behind Freddie.
Yeah.
Which of them comes out on top? If any of them, they could be also be someone we haven't even mentioned yet, obviously. But like definitely looking good for Triton so far.
100%. And the teams during this whole testing, they're not just doing quali runs or race runs. A lot of the teams have rookies who haven't done pit stops or like line up on the grid and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the teams are coaching them on how to do their formation laps, how to do their laps to the grid, how do they prepare the tires to get in the window that they want to do. We obviously don't get this data and we don't get like, oh, the team was doing this because the teams are very secretive. But we know that they are testing a whole bunch of different things, especially with the rookies, trying to get them up to speed before Melbourne.
Yes, also talking about the times not necessarily being completely representative of what is actually happening, because we never know who are doing what, like different run plans at different times, and that's like who maybe got their lap ruined by another driver or a red flag and stuff like that. But I will say, as we always say in our testing recap videos, is that last year, if you look at the results from preseason testing, it was Nicholas Solov that actually was fastest throughout the test. And obviously he didn't win the championship, but he
No.
was definitely a championship contender. So you can look at the results and be fairly confident that whoever tops the test or is close to topping the test will most likely be in
Yeah.
the conversation for the championship.
Yeah. That person will most likely be towards the front of the grid. We can take that away. We can't say definitely that they will win or, they will dominate, but they will be up there most likely. One thing I would like to note about day 2 is we actually didn't get that many red flags. Our first red flag
No.
came right at the end of the day. But like, it was really good. He did stop in the gravel, so driver error, perhaps, or something happening with the car, but it was right at the end of the day, so I feel like it didn't ruin too many people's run plans.
We definitely had the cleanest of the days on day 2, as you mentioned, only with Enzo Liligny causing that first red flag, which was the 5th red flag of the whole test, but that's also because we had so many in day 1, obviously. But yeah, nothing else super crazy happened in day 2. I will say in the afternoon session, Campos did, for like the afternoon session, not for the overall times, Campos did go 1, 2, 3 of the fastest time before the red flag was caused by Enzo. So they are definitely also showing some of their pace. But yeah, looking at day 2 in general, day 2 was the day where the fastest lap was set, obviously by FREDDIE SLATER, but like, that time wouldn't be beaten in day 3.
Yeah. Exactly. So we can kind of take that day 2's track conditions were the best.
Yes. Also, when you look at the amount of laps that were done, the team that did the most laps the day before was on 150 something. Today it was ART that did the most amount of laps with 261. So that definitely shows that a lot more running was done on day 2.
Exactly. Important for ART and their rookies as well to get up to speed. So well done, ART, for getting those laps in, banking those quali and those race simulations.
Yes, super important going in to the season. Also, now that we are on ART, when we look at the results of the day, as we already mentioned, FREDDIE SLATER and Noah Stromsdal are P1 and P2 of the day, but right behind them, actually, we have Tato Kato, super close to Noah's time for ART, and his teammate, who we have been taught by one of our Polish followers how to pronounce his name, and I have already forgotten it.
Me
We
too.
definitely have to look that
I'm
up
so
again before the season. We will practice, but I've
We will.
definitely forgotten how to say his name. Yeah, but possibly I don't remember it, but like I half remember it being something like Gladish is something. Gladish. I'm just saying that. It's not the perfect pronunciation, but he was before. And then we had Tuka Tapanen for MP right behind him in P5. And also I have to mention the now definitely most experienced F3 driver on the grid, Brad Benavides for AIX in P6. Will be interesting to see what Brad can do in this season in F3, because like the man has been around F3, F2 for a while. Also, he had such a strong finish to the season last year, so will be definitely be interesting to see if he can keep that momentum going into the new season.
I hope he has an incredible, maybe final F3 season and can move up to
Yeah.
F2. Hopefully, a seat opens up there for him. But he did drag AIX to many places last year. So let's see where he can get them to this year. And let's hope we don't have the curse of the AIX this year. Can we have these
Hopefully
3
not.
drivers for the full season?
That is a challenge, AIX. We dare you. Keep these 3 drivers for the full season, okay? Let's see how long we'll get into the season before one of them is replaced. But, like, hopefully we'll see all 3 drivers for the full season, but that awaits to be seen. Looking at the results from day 2 before we move on to day 3, the only thing I want to mention is now we have hyped up the Triton versus Campos championship battle. Today, actually, Campos decided to chill out. They didn't do any really fast laps. They were like a second off Freddie's time in the morning session, probably because they focused more on the long run today, because as I mentioned, when we look at the long runs, they did go fastest for a while. But then again, it's so difficult to look at what we are getting from the test, because you see fastest lap times, but then who is to say after they set those times, they didn't just drop off a cliff right after? Like, we don't have the full picture of that at all.
No, we get such limited data that we can talk about. So we're giving you what we can get, but take everything with kind of a pinch of salt.
Yes. And we also hope you still enjoy these types of testing episodes, also because it can be a lot to follow F3 testing. The same goes for F2. We'll also do an episode on their test coming up. But like, with only having live timing and having a live blog now and having a report at the end of the day, it's not a lot to go off. And if you really want to like go dive into what happened, it can be a lot. So hopefully you enjoy us telling you the big stories of what actually happened. The only big thing to notice, which is not that big, but like I will say that Tato Kato for ART, now that we mentioned that they're doing so well in the afternoon session again, I believe. I don't know what's up with the afternoon session. Seems to always be the time where teams are kind of maybe slacking a bit on their car, because he also got his times deleted this time also for a car non-compliant with the bodywork measurements. So small thing, not any real consequences other than his unimportant lap times being deleted.
Exactly, but hopefully these teams can get these like infringements over with now, so we don't have these things that are happening actually during the season, because it's so disappointing when that happens when it counts. When a driver you like kind of don't expect does well, but then no, actually we can't because your car wasn't technically legal.
Yes, because obviously it can be simple, small human errors that lead to these infringements, but it also can be some of the teams testing out the limit. Because if they want to test out the limit for what is actually legal, this is the time, because this is the last time where the results won't matter before we actually go into the real race weekends where every single session matters.
Exactly. But I think we can probably jump into our third and final day of testing, where we were not as clean as day 2. We got a couple more red flags, back to usual, I guess. But our first red flag of the day came out like before the first set of laps could really be completed, for James Wharton, who got stuck in the gravel, which again, we don't know why. Maybe driver error, but red flags messing up people's runs again before they could even really get started.
Yeah, definitely not the way James would have wanted to start off the final day of the test. But after the green flag was up again, we had, now that we have hyped up the Triton and Campus, we did have a Triton Campus showdown today. Like, they didn't wait around. Like the other days, it was very much like, oh, towards the end, they started showing the pace. No. Like today, they meant business from the start. And we had our small little Noah Stromsted versus Theophil Nile battle at the front. Like it was at the beginning. Noah being fastest. Very exciting for me. I will say, spoiler alert for who I'm rooting for, obviously. But also, right behind them, we had another small Campus versus Trident battle going on with Ugo Chukwu, and FREDDIE SLATER, with Ugo being the fastest of the two. So we had also like these results that they were putting in would end up being the fastest time of the day. I will say that I feel robbed that Theophil Nile ended up being 0.095 seconds faster than Noah. Also, like when I read the live blog and I saw, oh, now all the drivers have gone into the pit, but oh no, Theophil Nile is still out on track, putting in a faster lap. Like I was robbed by having Noah being P1. Like I liked Theophil Nile, no shade to him, but I needed a Noah topping the session, and I didn't get it.
It kind of felt like Theophil was just doing that for like a glory run to end the session on top. Because Campos were like, we're going to show our dominance here. This is not just a Trident like sweep away. But I will say something to note about Theophil Nile. He is quietly under the radar. Like he's flying under the radar. But he's definitely someone to watch out for. He's in Campos, who we know in the past has performed well in F3, like last year and the couple years before. I know, like, when we look at Campos, we're going to see this Ugo versus FREDDIE battle. Like, that's what our mind's going to completely go to. But don't discount out Theophil Nile and then Noah. Like, they could also be finding in the front here.
Yeah, that is very much the image I had in my head as well. That all the hype and everyone's predictions are like, all the focus is on FREDDIE SLATER and Ugo Chukwu, and quietly behind them we have Noah Stromsted and Theophil Nile, and they can be equally as scary for the championship. Like either of them can also run away with it. Also, I'm sorry to the third Trident driver and third Campos driver. We haven't barely mentioned you, but they are also super talented drivers. They could potentially also go after the title, but now already looking at the test, they are definitely the drivers that don't stand out quite as much. Obviously, they can still show more when we get into the season, but as of for right now, it definitely looks to be like a FREDDIE SLATER, Noah Stromsted versus Ugo Chukwu and Theophil Nile. And I'm here for it. Like, sign me up.
Yeah. I know. I am sad. I am ready to see how this plays out.
Definitely. And yeah, looking at the morning session, as we say, that is where the fastest times were set. Nothing much else happened, I will say, because after they put in these fast laps, the focus did switch to long runs, which again was also mainly the focus of the afternoon session.
Yeah, I will say one thing to note, which we only found out on day 3, is that Alessandro Giusti was battling illness all week. So if we didn't see good times from him, the poor man was sick. He was throwing up. Like you can't expect him to perform well when his body isn't 100%. So I don't think his times are completely accurate. He'd even lost his voice. He's trying to do media, like the man can't speak. But I think again, he is another driver who's coming in with a lot of promise to this season. So maybe he didn't have the greatest test, but he was sick.
Yeah. It is definitely an important aspect to note, because it is tough enough in itself to drive these cars, and then doing it while sick is such a huge challenge. At least he did get some time in the car. He didn't just sit it out and put in another driver. So that is something. And also, while we are on the topic of drivers who we haven't focused on yet, but who can perform when we come to the season. Also, this person I will mention also did perform decently well in the test, but we haven't mentioned him yet. And that is, I feel like it's super interesting to mention Brando Badura switching from Prema, where he was struggling so much in his rookie season. I believe he only got 13 points last season. Now switching to Rodin, and I'm definitely seeing the first signs of Brando maybe showing more of his potential, even though Rodin have also been kind of a struggling team. I do see him, like, from the results of the test of him, like,
Mm.
going near the top a couple of times throughout the sessions. Like, he will also be interesting to see what he can finally do now that he has switched away from Prema and now get a second chance at Rodin instead.
Yeah, we definitely did not get the rookie season from him that we expected. I mean, he was even dropped by McLaren. So
Yeah.
I do think he has so much more potential than what he could show last year. So please can he finally show it at Roden? And can Roden like get up there?
Please.
Come on.
We would love to see that. Um, Other things that happened in the afternoon session, I will say this was a very red flags heavy
Yeah.
session again. Like, they were like, we need to finish off with a bang. Like, no one had anything to lose, and
No.
cars just stopped left and right because we did have the third red flag of the day, which was the 8th of the test overall, actually caused by Freddie Slater stopping on
Mm,
track. So Triton is not bulletproof. Obviously, we don't
no.
know why he stopped, but nonetheless, he did cause a red flag.
Exactly. Like it's Freddie, who we think is going to be dominating, even he is having mistakes
Yeah.
or like problems in testing. So no one is immune from the red flag because everyone will be hit by it.
Yes, exactly. Talking about red flags, we also had the 4th red flag of the day, 9th of the test overall. This time caused by a driver we actually haven't mentioned, but is
Yeah.
a very interesting driver going into the season, being Finn McLaughlin, who is an interesting driver because obviously he's Red Bull backed,
Mm,
and he is going straight from F4 cars pretty much up to Formula
yeah.
3, which is like very unusual to see.
Yes, he has been doing well before, but like he only left karting, I think, like a year ago. So I think
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have the best rookie season. I think he's been pushed a little bit. And we see this with Red Bull juniors that can kind of get pushed too fast. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it will be interesting to see what he can do. But yes, he did cause a red flag on the final day of testing.
Yes, ended up into gravel, I believe. And also, like, as we mentioned, like, this is a very, like, fast-tracked career path he's on,
Mm,
because usually you would see people who perform well in Formula 4, like, going to, say, GB3 or FRECA,
mm,
that is also, like, F3-esque cars before they go onto the big stage of actually being an F3. So it will definitely be interesting to see how he handles this pressure and, like, if he'll be able to perform. Obviously, no one is expecting him to, like, go out and win in this season, even though it would be very incredible to see. But, like,
well,
definitely this should be a year of learning for him, and hopefully it
mm.
will be.
Completely. I agree. It'll be interesting to follow. Nice for another Irish driver to be coming up. You know what? This is a very side note,
Mm,
but I don't think it's officially
yes.
been announced, but I think Oliver Goethe has left the Red Bull program. I think he's still sponsored by Red Bull,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's a Red Bull junior anymore. That is the rumblings that I heard. Just wanted to note it while
Yeah.
we're on the topic of Red Bull Academy, because we know they like to drop their drivers. So again, I hope Finn can perform well, because if he doesn't, I could see Red Bull dropping him.
Yeah, Red Bull are definitely ruthless. Like, if you succeed at Red Bull, awesome, you are almost
Yeah.
guaranteed getting into F1. Like, they are definitely the team that has the highest ratio of, like, junior drivers getting to F1 because they also have racing bulls. So, like, technically, they do have more seats to play around than a lot of the other F1 teams have. But also, like, if you perform mediocrely or bad, you will get
Mm.
dropped super quickly. So it's a big gambling game we
Yeah,
are in if you are a Red Bull Junior, basically.
exactly. But something to follow going back to the test. Um, yeah, Finn didn't put in an insane amount of like good laps. So hopefully he's learning from this. Because as we mentioned with all the rookies, you know, especially him, like he's barely spent time in single seaters, so he's gonna have to learn a lot. But I think that was our final red flag of the day.
Yeah, It was. Also, that was quite enough. Like, having 9 red flags
Yeah.
across the 3 days, obviously, it is normal because you don't know what exactly is happening with the cars, but still, definitely must be annoying to the different teams, slightly
Yeah.
messing with their run plans. But yeah, finishing off day 3 in the afternoon session, I feel like out of nowhere, we had Nicolas Lacorte being
I know.
fastest of the session for Dams. And I'm like, where did you come from?
Especially Dams is like a struggling team usually.
Yeah.
So like I'm happy to see that they're up there.
Yeah, obviously they were still, now that we are in the afternoon session, he was 2 seconds off the pace of the morning session, but then again, you can't compare morning sessions to afternoon sessions because things are different, track conditions are different, but still interesting to note, I will say.
Yeah, agreed.
And if we then look at day 3 results, obviously we have already touched upon it, that Theophil Nile was fastest with Noah Stromsdal right behind him. Like, I still can't get over how close he was to topping day 3, but it's fine. It wouldn't have been the fastest time of the test anyway, so like, all is good. We are going strong into Australia. Hopefully also Australia, the place where Noah got his first podium in his rookie weekend. Just wanted to point that out. Also, Theophil was on that podium as well, I believe. So like,
Yeah.
Theophil Nile and Noah Stromsdal are going strong into Australia the second year around for both of them. And then Ugo Chukwu was right behind them in P3, Freddie Slater P4, and as I mentioned before, Brando Badura being P5. So being quietly pretty good in that rodent here in the test was definitely very encouraging to see.
Yes, exactly. I will say something about Australia, which I love, is that we don't get running there usually. You know, these rookie drivers are coming in trying to prepare for Australia on a completely different track. Barcelona is completely different to Australia. So these teams are trying to prepare them for what they could expect, but it's going to be chaos once we get there. We have a lot of rookies. We've got returning drivers who know the circuit better than the other drivers. And it's just, oh, I cannot wait.
No, and we are so close now. Like, when this episode goes up, it's only in a couple of weeks' time that we'll see the cars on track in Melbourne. And I honestly cannot wait. Maybe this test will show you how the power dynamics will be going into the season. But then again, you never know what can happen, and we could be completely wrong. But
Yeah.
definitely, it does show us some strong signs that Campos and Triton could be the ones to beat at least, which obviously would make sense because they were also P1 and P2 in the team's championship last year. And like, when you look on day 3, it was definitely a full like Campos, not quite dominance, obviously, because they were closely followed by Triton, but like, when you look at the fastest time, it was set by them. The most amount of laps by a driver and by a team was also set by them, with Campos managing 250. No, not 50. Oh, it was even more. It was 285 laps of the day.
Campos being like, I am here. Don't count me out. I'm going to get these laps in and I'm going to show you what my drivers can do. So, yeah, the test can give you a couple of hints of what could be happening in the season. But as we know, it's chaos. F3 is absolute chaos. So I would not be surprised when we get a surprise win, a surprise podium, a surprise championship win. Maybe. I do think we kind of know who's going to be up there, but we could be proven wrong.
Imagine we had a surprise Premier comeback and we have a Louis Schaff or something going for the championship. Like, I'm manifesting that. Like, can we please have that?
I'm set. Like, I'm ready for that. Premier comeback? ? I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens when we get to Australia. But I guess that was pretty much what happened in F3 preseason testing. And now the next time we'll see or hear about these drivers and cars on track will literally be in Australia. So we are almost there. We almost survived the long break, because now that we're talking about F3, we haven't seen F3 since September last year.
Yeah, it's actually crazy, the break that we've had, but we are right
Yeah.
at the end of it. The season is almost beginning. But if you want to follow us on all of our socials, we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got Twitter, we've got Spotify, YouTube. So wherever you're watching this, go follow all of our other socials. Make sure you're subscribed or following us because you will not want to miss all of our next episodes. Our next one will probably be on F2 testing, and then we'll jump into our predictions, which I love.
Yeah.
I love putting my predictions out there. Last year I
Yeah.
was like kind of wrong, kind of right. So hoping for a
Yeah.
couple better predictions this season.
Yes, I'll have to actually consider strongly who I'll be predicting because for those who have been following our podcast for the past season, I was cursing everyone I
Yeah.
was predicting last year. So I'm not even sure if I want to predict the drivers I actually want to see winning the championship. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but we definitely hope you enjoyed this episode. Also, we want to hear from you. Like, who do you think like was the most impressive from the test? Like, was there anyone we missed out on, or do you just think it's gonna be a Freddie Slater dominance all the way? We'll love to hear what you think.
Yes, exactly. Make sure to comment wherever you're watching this. Let us know what you think of the test, who you think is showing some promise. Who are you disappointed in? Was there anyone that you thought would perform better? But I think that is it for this episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.